All right.
Hi.
We're
Hi.
in.
How
We're
are you?
on. We're in. We're on.
We're on there. We're in there like
It's up.
swimwear.
We're here.
We're all up in it.
All up in it.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, I'm excited for this. I can already tell you have a personality.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so happy about
so
that.
about
Honestly, I just can't wait to hear like the story behind this. So we have with us today Kaylee Ocampo,
Yes, ma'am.
who I have actually known about you. Well, we've met a couple of times, but
Yeah.
I've known even before I met you. I knew just from social media because you've kind of been out there. You've had a presence for a while. I feel like.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that because
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's seeing or hearing or anything
Oh,
that
for
I'm
sure.
doing.
Oh,
So
I saw you all over social media before I ever met you. Didn't you start or launch a networking group in Richardson?
Oh, wow. So you like really go way back. Okay, I see. I didn't know that. So, yes, so I moved here from California 2.5 years ago. And at that time, I was like, forget social media because I had to be on social media prior from my old job that I used to do back in California. And then I wanted a break. And so I moved out here and I was like, I'm shutting it down. I shut it down. And then I met who I consult with and work with now. And he's like, I need you to be on social media. I'm like, okay, fine. So I got back on and I started really pushing it to network and I wanted to meet people. This is a blank canvas and I was like, okay, I need to go out there. And so I was spreading the news about business and trying to meet people. So yes,
What was the name of it? I don't remember.
The networking group.
Yeah, and it was in a art place or something.
The drawing board.
Yes.
Yes.
It's actually still on my calendar. Do you still do it?
They have so many different networking groups that meet there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the T&E is what you're specifically referring to, which is the Thursday night event every third Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing you around for a long, long time, and then I watched the whole launch of your coffee, and it's just so much fun.
That's so exciting. I didn't know it was that far back.
Yeah,
so
you're kind of famous in my life.
Oh, thanks. That doesn't say a lot for your life.
So we discuss on here on every episode.
Oh my God, I love her already.
Which is why I don't cover the camera because
that
my
was
laptop.
more a diss to me than you. I didn't even think about how it's coming out towards you. I'm so
Like,
sorry.
wow, okay, well, thank you.
And
for
we're
coming.
done
And
here.
We're done. Okay.
So funny.
So, and I know you, so it's funny because Mary Robb mentioned the Dallas Girl Gang multiple times in the last episode we recorded. And then, like, I reached out to you, I believe was in that group, or I saw you posting in that group, and I was like, you should come on our podcast, and then whatever, and then it kind of developed from there, too. So, shout out to DGG, bro.
For real.
Yes, DGG has been huge in the launch of Lymi Coffee.
Well, and you're really close with Georgia, and Georgia's been on the podcast, too, and Georgia's a really good friend of Shapiro's as well.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's just all...
It's all
6 degrees to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And I remember, so my first introduction to you was when you were on stage on fire at Georgia's luncheon.
Ooh, on stage on fire.
That to me was like, oh my God, Kimberly Shapiro. Like, that's such a strong name.
I love it. I know I should have been an attorney.
That was like, for real. Like, that was when I got introduced to you. It's like, I love her. When she find her, and that was when I was like, oh, on LinkedIn I saw her. Like, and so I clicked and I
love it.
Connected, and so yeah. So the mutual love and like admiration goes both ways.
I love that. That is so great.
I know. I love it too.
That's such a
all the
wonderful
good vibes,
story.
all the high vibes.
All the high
today.
vibes.
Oh my
So
God.
So we really have an hour. I have a feeling like this is gonna fly.
I can go all day. I don't have anything to do with this. I have no life. Don't worry.
I want to get into your coffee. So just a quick little background just for the audience, and then you, of course, I want you to go in and share it. But she launched her own coffee brand, and I just want to know, how did you do that? How did you decide you wanted to do that? How do you get started?
Why
I love coffee,
yeah.
and never would I say, I love coffee, I'm going to start my own brand. You're like, I'm going to launch my own brand. Like, how does that happen?
That is a good question. And I had originally thought of doing this probably about 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I thought, I love coffee. Because first thought was, I know how to build a brand. That's what I did for many years for someone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my thing. I love people. I love community. I love giving value and just making things happen, whatever that is, if it's marketing, if it's sales, whatever.
Right.
And so I was like, I want to do that for my own brand. But for me, it has to have meaning. That's the biggest thing for me. So I knew I wanted my own business, but I didn't want it to just be something very turnkey and not meaningful. And then I thought, I love coffee. And I was like, oh my God, how would you ever start a coffee company? Like,
seriously. You're like, what do I know about beans?
Right?
Yeah, that's like global stuff. You have to trade and, you know, I don't know anything about
I would
that.
think, like, I've got to go to, like, Costa Rica or Hawaii or
coffee. Yeah, and for everyone listening, we're actually drinking her coffee right now. If you want to plug it, tell us tell us the name, tell us the flavor or the whatever, like the blend.
So this roast that you are drinking today is a very luxury brand, premium quality coffee. Okay. And the name of the company is Lymi Coffee. It stands for Love You Mean It. So I use the acronym. And this particular roast that we're drinking right now is called High Vibe.
Which you can tell that we're extra caffeinated for this episode. Just saying.
You know what? Yeah.
We are.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
It actually is.
I'm like buzzing.
Yes. So it is naturally extra caffeinated because it's made with a blend of AA Robusta Indian beans with Brazilian beans, both organic, fair trade. And it has a very silky smooth finish and very low acidity. So for those who love cold brew especially, that's a very big bonus.
That's what I was going to say.
That's low on that.
That was one thing that I noticed is that it is really low on, like acidity.
Yeah, it doesn't have that like bite.
Right. So here's the packaging on the back, y'all. This special blend of beans is just as unique as you are, my dear. They've been strategically selected and masterfully crafted to promote a naturally higher caffeine boost for ultra clarity, better focus, and high vibes. Love you, mean it.
Oh my God! I know. Let me see.
I haven't read that in a while.
So great.
That sounded good. Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted. Like I said, I wanted to have something with meaning, and I'm all about positivity, encouragement, like self-growth and personal development, and that's just been my thing for so many years. And so coffee is a universal language that brings people together, just like love. And so it was something I can share my vibes, my love, and positivity through with a community. You know, everyone
what was step one, Kaylee? Like, I want to make a coffee, or I want to create a coffee and brand it and put it out there. What is the very first thing you have to do?
Well, I think for anyone, step one is always Google. So,
for sure.
I love it.
Yes, and that was step
You're
one.
You're like Dr. Google.
Yes.
No, put this back in front.
So once I decided that it was going to be coffee, I was like, that's it. That's the thing, coffee. And that was 4 years after I had that initial thought.
Okay. Right.
So I was still in California then, and the reason why I chose coffee was because I didn't know anything about coffee before that, and I'm still learning. But at that time when I was in California, I lived on the beach, and I had 2 awesome roommates, and they knew coffee, and so they would start roasting coffee on a Saturday morning, and we would just sit around and like open the windows and have this awesome California beach breeze coming through,
and then this smell of like roasting beans.
Yes.
So what they would roast beans? Who does
like,
that in their apartment?
They would they would do the works. And I was like, oh, what is this? They'd give me a cup. I'm like, this is so awesome. Oh, it's from this region. I'm like, that's cool. And this just felt so great. We'd had such great conversation.
Yeah.
And it was just such a good moment of meaning and connection. And I was like, that's what I want to create.
Right.
I want to create that. And so years later, fast forward, I'm in Texas, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And I remembered that, and I was like, coffee is it. That's the thing. And that's what and I just Googled roasters that will allow me to buy their coffee and sell it, And so I actually reached out to one person right away. And this roaster I had a great conversation with. I looked him up on Facebook and introduced myself, and we hopped on a quick call, and he was the owner of this big awesome roastery, or I shouldn't even say big, I should say micro, because he's very like hands-on, and which is important to me. And so we talked about it, and I told him, like, look, I want organic, I want fair trade, I want to make sure this is quality over quantity, right? So he had all of that. I tried some samples, they were great, and then I was really wanting to just explore all the other roasters. So I went and I did my research, and I found other places to try their coffee, and I did like it, but I just kept coming back to that very first one that I connected with.
Yeah.
And I loved it so much, so that's the one that I went with. I was like, it has all the boxes checked, organic, fair trade, and really comes from someone who loves what they do and was willing to hop on a call with me right away when I was nobody and still am nobody. And he's like, what do you need for us to support your business? So
and it's about that relationship and the connection that you had with that person, not just the product that he was selling.
Yeah, exactly. So we built a really good rapport, and actually it was months after. So I knew I wanted to do it. I found him, tried other roasters, created my Shopify account, and still didn't have anything. And I was just like doing one thing to keep the momentum, because I had this idea for years and I just didn't take action. And so I live by this rule of just the one thing rule. Do one thing. Because everything's so... Oh, is that a book?
It's a book.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I had no idea. So that makes a lot of sense. But that's what I just kind of live by. Like, let me just do one thing. Yeah. And then I'll do another. And everything in life compounds. And then eventually you're at the end goal.
And that's also a book, The Compound Effect.
I was going to say, and that's Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect, which is an amazing book.
Somehow I got a hold of these.
Such a sage. Yeah.
Such a sage. That's the name of Tony Robbins' wife, and she's awesome. So, yeah. I love it.
Of course I am.
So, yeah, I just did one thing. I started Shopify. I was paying for something I wasn't using and, making all those little mistakes. Yeah. And I registered for the company name. And finally, he had followed up with me. And, first, I found a roaster that was going to be a good fit also, because they were veterans and veteran-owned. And I really, really loved that. But logistically, it just wasn't going to work out.
Similar to, like, Black Rifle? Or
similar story, kind of. And but it just wasn't the same, and I was trying too hard to get communication, and it just, so I was like, that's not what I want. I want someone who's connected. And then sure enough, the roaster I talked to months prior first reached back out and followed up with me, and I was like, let's do it. So we just did it, and I created the packaging. I was like, I want a white bag, I want rose gold, and then we couldn't have that. So I was like, okay, copper's great. I want something shiny, but something clean. Yeah. And so I created the packaging.
Which is
probably
great.
It's so cute.
Perfect.
So cute.
Thank you.
So unlike any other coffee packaging that I've seen, which is
for sure
impressive, because you want to differentiate, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I wanted something that I would see at the stores and be like, oh my God, that's so cute. I want that. Yeah. And it's got coffee, which I love. Oh, and it's called High Vibe because it's all about, you know, caffeine.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
There
love,
you
love,
go.
love.
Yeah.
I love that.
So how do you distribute it? What's like, are you out there selling to like Whole Foods and places like that, or?
So not yet. Yeah. So right now I'm solely online. I don't have a desire to have a coffee shop. Sure. Until I'm, able to pay someone else to be there all the time. Because my big thing is I want to be able to break apart from a specific location. Right. I don't want any one thing holding me down to one location.
You don't want to be a slave to that.
Right.
To that business.
Right. And so maybe down the line, and that's where I can expand on the community aspect of it and have someone run that, and I could be there just whenever I need to be there. Yeah. But right now it's solely online, and I order in small batches and I distribute online or in person. Actually, majority of my sales are in person.
That's really cool.
So it is about that.
Are you
community.
like going to like fairs, or like how are you selling in person?
Yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything. So I am one person. Back to our conversation before. Yeah. Like there's all these things that are like, that will help. Yeah. That will help. That will help if you did this. And
you're like,
let me just
multiply myself real quick so I can be at all these different places and be doing all these different things.
There is an expense affiliated with all of that too. Yeah. So like going to fairs and that kind of, there's an upfront investment that would pay off. Sure.
Time is your most precious asset.
Right. Yes. And I was working a full-time job. Right. That was really more than a full-time job because I was fully invested, and that's how I operate. I want to be really invested in whatever it is I'm putting my name on. So it's not like, I can go to 9 to 5 and check out when I get home. No. Like that's not how I operate.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I was like, okay, I'll get it started. Had no intention of quitting my job. Yeah. And I didn't necessarily quit, but 2 weeks after I launched, I was like, wow, this thing is really pulling me. Like, I just want to do everything I can and just pour myself into this. Yeah. Because if I don't, then my customers will not feel the effect that I'm trying to have on them. Sure. Right? Like, I want an impact. I don't want just a sail.
And there was so much momentum too at that point.
Yeah.
Like you want to ride that wave.
Exactly.
For
And
sure.
so I definitely had a lot of momentum right out the gate. And I went to my former boss and I expressed to him with tears, like I'm having such a conflict because I'm so loyal and committed to what I was doing for him. And I want to follow through with that. But I'm also giving up a piece of me, that my business needs. So I ended up working out, a really good situation with him where I went back to my consulting role, and now I can still work with him and the team that I love, and still also focus on my business.
Yeah.
So I'm able to do both with the right amount of time and the right amount of love and effort that it takes for either.
Right.
And so now that's what I'm focusing on. And then that momentum that you talked about in the beginning, that went away when I started focusing on other aspects of the business behind the scenes, because I wasn't up front, on the forefront of things as much as and so I've noticed, like, okay, if I'm not doing this is falling through the cracks. And if I'm not doing that, the other thing is falling through the cracks. So I'm just trying to manage that right now.
So I want to hear a little bit about your background. Just for those of you guys that are listening, Kaylee just brings this, speaking of high vibe coffee.
Seriously.
You just
like emit this vibe. It's just like amazing.
Electric. Like there's just
Thank
something
you.
about you that's contagious and just super fun and electric, and just I can't even explain it necessarily. I feel like Georgia kind of has that as well.
Yeah.
And
that's why I love her.
Well, tell me a little bit about you and just like where you grew up. I mean, I think California you mentioned.
Yeah.
But just like a little bit about like your upbringing and your parents and that kind of thing, and how you became the way you are right now.
Well, I appreciate that, first of all, because you guys make it easy to be comfortable because of who you are. So you're like, you already are the, the open arms, and you're filled with love. And I got to hear you speak, which was awesome. And so you opened up to me then, and you opened up to me when we had our first phone call, April. So so thank you for both reciprocating that.
Yeah.
It's not hard to
Love
be
to hear that.
excited when you're around people like that. But I was born and raised in California, Southern California. I'm a beach girl all the way, except for I don't surf because sharks and all that. So I don't surf. I surfed once, but in Hawaii where I could see through the water, and I knew there was no sharks. But I grew up just totally water baby, wanting to be on the water at the beach, outside every single day.
Only child, lots of siblings?
I have one younger brother.
Okay.
And 3 older step siblings who I consider my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And 9 nieces and nephews and 16 other baby cousins. So every year, like, the starting age is newborn to whatever, 18 or 19. And so I've got all these kids and family. And
that's so awesome.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of my life just outside, a lot of energy around, a lot of kids are vulnerable and they love and they're honest, and
isn't that so great?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's so great.
Yeah, and
it's
that's
so pure.
It is.
It's unadulterated. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just it's the best.
Yep, and I love my kids. And I say my kids because I just consider them all mine.
Like, they're all mine. You don't get a choice.
Yeah, and then I give them back.
So then they're not mine.
Perfect scenario.
So great.
Yeah, and it was great. And so I loved my life. And I still do. And that's what I'm overall generally a happy, energetic person. I never needed coffee, honestly. And I don't, I never really tried it or had a thing for it until 5 years ago-ish. And I had to start getting up really early. And I was like, oh, that sucks. I heard about this thing called coffee. Yeah. I guess I'll give it a try.
How do I do that? How do I?
Yes. And so I had some and I was like, this is kind of cool. It's like a drug. And I'm like kind of a purist, like a, what do you call that?
It's like, just like Shapiro. She's like a holistic person. Like,
yeah, like too straight edge.
I don't want to put anything in my body that's like bad for me, like,
Well, there is limits, of course, but I do try to keep things pure and as whole as possible,
clean.
And like clean. That like I don't want candles in my house. I like essential oils, and I don't want like cleaning products that are harmful or damaging to the body. And
right. But not to like the extreme, like.
It's not an extreme. And like,
you
that's
just can't avoid everything.
Yeah, and I don't even try to. It's just like what I purchase and bring in my home. But I'm never going to go to somebody's house and not eat the food they put before me. Or
right.
You know what I mean?
Or be like, oh my gosh, did you clean these counters with Clorox wipes? Like, I can't believe
or
you.
Can you please burn out that candle? Like, please.
No.
It's not a soy candle. It can't be burning in my presence.
Yeah,
soy candles aren't even okay. So
I mean, we're human.
Yeah, so I don't do that. Yeah, at all. It's just about what's in my own home.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's not about being extreme about any one thing and be like, I that's not me.
Yeah.
Like that's not cool.
Yeah.
So really I could relate to anyone anywhere. And that's what, and going back to being in California, I was super blessed to have been raised in, so I was born in Orange County and in Fountain Valley near Huntington Beach, and it's beautiful there. So that's where California gets its reputation, is the beaches in Orange County, not the beaches in LA.
Okay.
So just to make that distinguish,
it's not Malibu.
Yeah.
Well, Malibu's beautiful. To get to Malibu is like, oh my god.
I took my kids to LA for like a spring break trip.
Yeah.
And we made our little way up the coastline. And it was quite a little hike.
Yeah. So it's not like it's the easy accessible beach. It's like, we got to go all the way up there. So that's a whole nother world in itself. But yeah, so to make that distinction, Orange County beaches, awesome.
Yeah.
Like a little more space, a little more elbow room out there. A little more free parking.
Yeah.
And then my mom moved us to Riverside, which is an hour east inland towards Vegas. But it's not in Vegas. And I was super blessed to be raised there because it was such a multitude of different cultures and people. It was a melting pot of just so many different vibes. And so going back to being able to relate to anyone, anywhere, and not being too stuffy or to any one thing, like that's where I get that from.
Yeah,
is being raised there, and that I really, really appreciated that. So it really grounds you, and it there's a lot of humble people around, and you're not trying to one up the other person, which I learned people in LA do a lot. And literally when I moved to LA for my old job, I got asked so many times, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from here. What do you mean?
Like, I grew up in California. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was like, well, from Riverside. I just moved here.
Like, oh, you're not from here.
Yeah. And like legit, I had people, wait, no, but like, where are you from? Like, are you from South Carolina? I'm like, what? Girl, I am like SoCal beach girl all the way. What are you talking about? I just didn't know. Like, there was just such a different world of people and the way they connected.
So how did you acclimate when you moved to Texas? Because North Dallas can be a little bit that way. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not the California vibe or like the Southern California vibe. Yeah. Especially Collin County. Yeah. So how have you acclimated since you've been here?
Oh, man. So the first thing that I realized when I moved to Texas was the freedom of my spirit.
Really?
Yes.
Do tell.
Because I was living, and I tried to find the quaint little beach town that I can live in El Segundo in LA, that was away from the city, but you still had to drive through all that traffic and chaos, and you still interacted with that chaotic high energy, like I've got to outbeat you, I've got to, and so that energy was still there, which is good for some part of your life and business and things like that. Like there's a lot that I embraced there. It's not all just bad, but just to highlight that there was a lot of stimulation there. And when I moved here, one day I was just driving on the highway and I realized, like, wait a minute, I don't remember the last time I saw a billboard. And like, that's such a small thing, but it's such a big deal in your overall happiness.
It is very spread out here.
It's very spread out.
Yeah.
So you're not as stimulated as often with something or someone trying to shove something down your throat. Like, do this, be this, And that's what I noticed was like the freedom, the weight lifted off of like having to like, oh my God, did you see that? Because when you see an ad,
the pressure,
there's something, they're constantly triggering you to feel a certain way. And when you have never feel many, good enough. Exactly. So that was the first thing and like the most liberating thing about moving to Texas.
I love that.
I know, me too.
And that's not what I expected you to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm loving that that's your experience.
Oh, it has been just an amazing experience. So I came out here at a really good time.
Yeah.
I always wanted to live somewhere else other than California, but I was living on the beach, so it had to be for a damn good reason.
Exactly.
Right? Like I was like, you're not moving. I literally would wake up, do some emails, and then go for a run on the beach and just like chill. So I worked from home, and I lived a really cush life.
Yeah.
Which was a blessing.
Yeah.
However, it was also a curse because I was living at the end of what people are aiming towards. Like I was already at the end of that journey of like, I'm living on the beach. I work from home and I have a laxed life.
Yeah.
And
you wanted more grind?
Yeah. And like, I didn't have to work as hard for it. Exactly. Oh, yeah. I love it. And so, I didn't earn the foundation that I needed to sustain that kind of life. I wasn't making a ton of money. I was just making it.
Yeah.
Right. Like just making it work. And that wasn't enough for me. So I was like, all right, I'm ready for a challenge. So at that point I had found my boyfriend and he's from Texas. And so I knew when we met and matched online, and I was like, that's someone I want to get to know because he was raised with morals.
Online, another story.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, Cupid to be exact. And it was great. We met the very next day. And then from that day we were inseparable, and it was just a beautiful story. And so when he wanted to move back to Texas and be closer to his son who lives here, I was like, heck yes. And I was about to turn 30, and it was just a pivotal moment because I was leaving my career of 7 years doing what I was doing before. And so it was just a really good time when I came out here, and I came with an open mind, an open heart, and I was like, I need a blank canvas to just go paint.
Yeah.
So I had that energy coming into it, and it's all about your mindset.
For sure.
Everything. Yes. Everything. Samesies. Everything that you do, you start with your mind. And so I was ready. But had it been a year prior, I don't know if I would have been ready.
Yeah.
You know? So
love it.
Just, that matters.
What was I going to ask? You're moving out here. God, something is in my brain. I can't remember.
It's the coffee.
Did you have enough of this?
I know. Do I need some more?
Your brain's on fast forward.
Well, you said something about like moving out here, or if like mindset. Oh my God, I lost it.
We'll re-find it. We'll find it. I just love this though. I love that anybody who makes a decision to do something and then they just do it. They jump. I am so enamored by that, or just I love it. Georgia did the same thing. She just decided, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this life anymore. Yeah. She goes and walks 2,600 miles up the PCT trail.
Yeah,
figures out
crazy
what
person.
Plan B is gonna be.
Yeah, but the best kind of crazy.
And just does it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have all kinds of great ideas, but they're just like, they just live in my brain.
But you guys are like 70 plus episodes deep now.
No, there
like,
are
that's
definitely
something to be like.
Yeah,
you
we give
just
ourselves
did
enough
it
credit for that.
Before people were like,
hey, stop. I don't know. I have all these ideas. Okay, fine. The podcast.
We don't give ourselves enough credit for the podcast. We don't.
You should.
Sure.
Because it's so like routine to us now. Like it's just, you know what I mean? It's just like another thing that we do.
Yeah.
So we don't just like sit back and, you know.
That is true. Which
sit
is
back
an
in
idea.
our seats and it's like,
and then we had to research it. And then we did it.
Yeah,
like
we're
that's true.
so amazing. So I was going to ask you, I remembered it. The high vibe brought it back.
Yes.
What did you do for 7 years in your career? You said you built a brand, or you built someone else's brand. Like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing philanthropy consulting, which was very niche, and no one else was doing it the way we were doing it, or if at all, I should say. And that was connecting celebrities with charities around the world. And so it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you get to meet some really cool people?
I did, yes. I got to meet a lot of great people.
Did you like rub elbows with like the coolest people?
I rubbed all my elbows, like boom. Can I rub you real quick?
I like grew elbows to rub, okay? Like it was like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I got to meet really cool people, some not so cool, and I don't even remember who it was that wasn't cool. I just would X them out.
Yeah.
You know? I just so happened to fall into that industry, and it was because I, in college, was like, I want to do something more. I don't feel like like I'm not doing anything with purpose, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do after this. I'm just going to start doing. And that was me making a decision. Like, I'm going to start doing. And I finally got access to the Facebook at the time.
Facebook.
Yes, because it was closed off to schools outside of where it started.
Yeah.
And so...
And then it just opened up to just schools,
just
college,
universities.
and then it was like, and then it grew from there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so I think it was
crazy.
like at that, maybe just past that point. And I just started kind of connecting with people there, online networking, and reached out to someone whose name was Mr. Charity. I'm like, oh, he obviously does charity. This is what I need to do. I need to give back.
I mean, he could have been an online predator, but whatever.
True.
He was Mr. Charity.
And so I wrote him this really long message, and he was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know, but I just want to do. So he's like, why don't you come down and meet me for lunch? So this is where it's crazy. So then I'm in Riverside, and I had never been to LA at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, yeah, I'll come down, meet you for lunch. We'll just talk, and you can tell me what you do, and I can tell you how I can help and offer my services, right? Like my love for doing it. And so he's like, okay, meet me here at this address. Okay. Well, it was at this really posh place. What's the name of it? And it was in Beverly Hills, like right around the corner from Rodeo. I've never been to LA at this point or met a celebrity or had like any desire. So the traffic was like one thing, and then rolling up and feeling less than was another.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was still so young, and I was super
green, naive, and you're like,
so
totally.
naive.
I can take on the whole world.
And everyone was nice and set out to have really good intentions, right? Like everyone was a good person.
Everybody's a good person.
You're still the ultimate optimist. Like nothing bad
Oh,
can happen.
man.
I'm just gonna show up and everything's gonna be great.
Yeah, and like life is abundant, and it was just beautiful. And so that was what I did. And I showed up. I wish I could remember the name of this restaurant. You guys might know. But I walk in and I meet Todd, and he was super nice. Like, and I love him to death. He's so nice. He's so giving and super smart, and just happens to have a lot of celebrity friends. And so he's like, oh, we're just meeting here for lunch. These are my colleagues, blah, blah, blah. And this is my friend, Lisa Vanderpump. She owns the restaurant.
Shut up.
Yeah.
How do I know that name?
Shut up.
He's like, she just wrapped up the first season of Housewives of Beverly Hills.
That's how I know that name.
Yesterday. And I was like, that's awesome. What is that?
Yeah.
And so I like stand up all perky in my probably terrible outfit she was thinking. And she like looks me up and like she shakes my hand, and she just stops and just like looks me up and down. And I was like, wow, I don't know what that meant. Like I had never experienced that before. But I understand. She's probably like, who the hell? What is this? What is this little perky?
Yeah. Who are you and why are you here? Are you trying to apply for a job here? Because I'm not trying to hire you.
Yes. And I remember the heels.
So Lisa Vanderpump.
I know now. Now as soon as you said that.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but also Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
That's her show. And
when we went to LA, there was a restaurant that Taylor had to go to because this is where she always is. And I don't remember.
That was the restaurant we went to that I met him at.
It's like white and like vines outside.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Okay.
So that was my first introduction to LA as an adult.
Gotcha.
Like,
dude,
I had no idea. Like, no idea.
That is so crazy.
And I was just like, where's the charity? Like, where can I help?
That's funny. I'm going to text Taylor while we're talking and see if I can figure out the name of the restaurant.
It's Villa Rosa, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Villa Blanca.
Villa Blanca.
Villa Blanca.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And then I later, obviously, the show aired,
And they
I was
also
like,
have,
I went there.
Well, they have Villa Blanca, and then they have they now have another bar, and then there's another place. They have like
there's so
3
many.
or 4 that she's like a restaurateur.
Okay.
Yeah, and she started this overseas originally because she's British, and you know she's
and then
from across the
came
pond.
over here,
yeah, and so
and
they
her
were
husband.
already uber successful, and
dude,
that's crazy,
dude.
It was pretty cool at the time. It was a lot of fun, but I was still like focused on the prize, and so it was all comes back to my humble upbringing in Riverside.
Yes.
Which didn't allow you to get a big head or, you know, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who do, but I didn't have that in me. I was really focused on the prize. And so I ended up.
What an amazing story.
It was so much fun.
Sir is the other
and
restaurant.
Sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Sexy, unique restaurant. That's what Sir is.
I think that's where they had the
Villa Blanca
show.
is where you take your wife. Sir is where you take your mistress. That's what they say.
And if you're doing that, F you. Bye.
So funny. So who else did you meet like while you were in that scene? Anybody that we would know?
I get that question a lot, and I just forget. Because
well,
like,
you're
just around it, and it's not, and especially in LA, like you can run into anyone anywhere, and it's not
celebrities
a big deal.
all the time.
Yeah, and I remember when I traveled.
How humble and cool are you? Where you're like, yeah, whatever, I just teach the red elbows.
No,
I don't even know.
No, but it really does speak to your character and the type of person that you are, because the impactful moments with people, or impactful, something that made an impact on your life is one thing to remember that, like the first one where you meet Lisa Vanderpump, but you're not like, oh yeah, I used to hang out with all these awesome people in LA, like I'm way cooler than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if something, if an interaction or an event would have made like an impact on you, like on your memory, then you would be like, yeah, I met this person and they were really cool or whatever. But that just shows like your personality and like your vibe.
Well, thank you.
Which is really good. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I mean, because I've always just been about connection.
Yeah.
Like, love and connection is number one for me. I'm actually about to do a series on this, on the 6 basic human needs that everyone has to fulfill.
Yes.
And one of them is love and connection.
Yes.
And that's so big for me, which I thought was my number one until recently.
Ooh.
And then I was like, oh my God, it's not number one.
What is it?
I'll tell you, because I don't know which is going to come out first, but it's not like I have all these people. I have like probably 82 people so who are waiting to know.
They're all waiting for me.
But it's actually the feeling, or the need to be wanted or needed, which I was like, ew.
Are you able to share the 6 things?
Yeah. So, well, if I can remember them off top. So it's love and connection, the need for contribution, the need for certainty, the need for uncertainty, and then there's 2 more.
I'm Googling right now.
I literally just wrote them down.
I literally just wrote them down. Okay, so we have... is it Tony Robbins or is it somebody else? Okay, Tony Robbins.
There it is.
So certainty, need for safety, stability, comfort, variety, the need for stimulus and change, significance, the need to be special and worthy of attention, connection and love, the need for connection with others and ultimately to love and be loved, growth, the need to develop and expand, contribution, the need to give beyond yourself.
Exactly.
Those are cool. I
That
like
is
those.
very cool.
I've never heard of those before.
So you're gonna do like a video series, or
yes.
Okay.
So like I'm starting to email and connect with people that way now in communication, and just to share. So the whole reason why I started Lymi Coffee is for that reason. For a community, to bring people together, to share whatever I have with people, and so however I can get it to them. So that's what I'm working on right now. But it comes down to me wanting that love and connection. Right. And
I think people are really missing that too. We're so busy and we're going from one thing to the next thing. So we wake up and it's just a routine. It's a rut. So we wake up, we get ready, we go to work, we do that. We're with the same people all day long. We come home. If we even invest in the people that we love the most, really we're just kind of like home, going through those motions as well. Go to bed, and we do it all over again. And I think people are really, really craving a true, meaningful connection. And I don't think people are even getting that at home. I don't think we're really getting fed at home.
No, we're on our phones all the time.
On our phones, or we're just tired. And you know what I mean? You turn the TV on and you zone out, and you don't even communicate. How many people don't even communicate with their own children? It's just like, okay,
it's
you just
sad.
Go do something, go upstairs and play or whatever.
It's so funny that you say that too, because the other day Chloe got in trouble at school and I took the TV away from her, so she wasn't able to watch cartoons, and her and I had the most meaningful and impactful evening, and I was like, shit, I need to do this every single day.
That's why I think families really should, if they can, be disciplined enough to get back to dinners at the table. When my kids were little, we were not even I would not allow them to have the TV on. We had to sit and eat dinner together as a family.
So
even if we were, scrapped for time or scraped for time and we didn't have time to cook at home, fine, we'll pick up Subway, but we're going to eat it at the table together. And I forced them to give me, 2 great things about your day and 2 things that maybe weren't so great. And I mean, they hated it at the time, but now, even when we have, and my kids are 26 and 24, even now when we sit down and have dinner together, like, all right, give me a couple great things about your day.
See, that's so special.
Yeah, it really is. And I think families really need to be disciplined and get back to that, even if it's just 1 hour of your entire day where you're just all about each other.
Yeah.
We just
100%. I can't even tell you like the things that she said to me or the conversations that we had that were so unlike what they would have been had the TV been on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you probably wouldn't have had those conversations at all.
No, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a distraction.
It is a huge distraction.
Yeah, and we were not made for loneliness. We were not made.
No, we were made for community.
Yes.
And like when they say it takes a village to live.
Yeah. Everyone needs someone. And no matter
how many divorces maybe wouldn't get to that point if you were still investing in one another every single day.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
You know, well, you kind of disconnect. The TV allows you to disconnect.
The TV or the phone or your phone. Yeah.
Or whatever the distraction is, it allows you to disconnect. And if you have so many days that turn into weeks, that turn into months, that turn into years, where you're not connecting, how do you find your way back to each other if you don't really try?
Yeah.
So
it's effort. It really is work. Like relationships, any relationship, friendships, you know, intimate relationships are not just, oh, we love each other and we have a connection. Like, no, it takes work to keep that.
It does take a lot of work. I remember coming home from work and the kids would, you know, always want to come down and say, hey, or complain. Usually it's, you know, like somebody's mad at somebody for throwing something at somebody. So, but I would walk in, I'm like, all right, I need 10 minutes. Everybody go upstairs, you know, do whatever you need to do. I need 10 minutes. And we called it Brad time. So it was my time to just, at the time, back then, I was actually drinking wine like one glass of wine a night. So we pour our glass of wine and we had 10 minutes to just talk. And then the kids could come down. But literally, I would shoo them away for 10 full minutes before we would even allow them.
So you could reconnect with your husband.
So we could just have a few minutes to just breathe and just talk, and then the kids could come down.
You need to write this guide on like your steps to being married for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then you need to go back and follow your guide, make sure and that's what we forget. Like we always all know what we should do.
Yeah.
But unless you like go back and remember, and that's the whole point of going back to these basic human needs.
Right.
Because I'm like, okay, I want to understand what it is I truly need.
Yeah.
Right. And today, to answer your question, what it is that I just recently discovered that I truly need is to be. I already told you that. Yeah.
But what was it?
To be needed and wanted. And I thought originally I was like, no, it can't be. Like it can't be.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, that sounds so
needy,
selfish.
Well, and it sounds codependent, but you're like, but yeah, we all need to be needed.
Yeah. And then I was dug a little deeper and I realized, okay, it's not that I'm just like, I want people to be like, oh, I need her, you know, because it applies to work and business and it applies to everything else. And it's not that I'm just like, I want someone to highlight me or anything.
Sure.
It's that I need to be needed because I have so much to give and so much love that I want to share. Yeah. So if someone doesn't need that in any part of
then you feel like you're not fulfilling your purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, that was
I think that's actually quite beautiful.
I do too.
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you think yours is?
I don't know. It might be something along those lines.
Yeah. For
sure. Yeah. That's why I'm having such an identity crisis right now because I swear.
Oh no.
I swear. Well, because like I've been single for the past like almost a year and a half. And it's just like, it's very foreign to me because I've always been in relationships. I'm a serial monogamist. But like, I'm struggling because I'm like, is this a good, like I have so much to give, especially in a relationship capacity that I'm like really having to channel that energy to other outlets. And then like Shapiro so wisely told me last week, she was like, why are you stressing about things that haven't even happened yet? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know.
Like, don't lose sleep over things that haven't even occurred. Don't worry until you have
like,
something to worry about.
Yeah, she's like, why are you stressing over a dude you haven't even met yet? I was like,
it's because that's what I do.
I know. Because I'm crazy. I don't know. But yeah, it probably is one of those, like, feeling like I need to be, like, almost like desired.
Yeah. Like that's really strong for me. Like I have to feel desired and important to someone, and that makes me want to just give you the world.
Yes.
You know, and so that's very.
When's your birthday? Oh, when's your birthday?
March 18.
What are you?
A Pisces.
Oh, interesting. We're compatible.
All right. When's your birthday?
I'm a Virgo. Pisces is like my match.
Oh, is it?
Pisces and Scorpio.
I was gonna say because Scorpio's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Aries.
That's me.
Yeah. That's Shapiro. I was about to say we're having the trifecta.
I am
no.
And I'm a true Scorpio, man. Like
you are.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
I
so
fit it.
True.
Yeah, it's almost like it was written for me.
Yes.
All about me.
That's funny.
So funny. Who knows how we got here, but it doesn't matter.
I don't know. This is how this always.
But this
rolls.
this is what coffee does. It opens up conversation. Like you come together, you have a cup, and you're like, "Ooh, tell me more. Ooh, tell me more about that." And then the vibes are flowing, and the caffeine is just getting you, and you're just like, "I am
this
writing
caffeine is getting me.
I
can feel
too.
it."
So so you do that for 7 years. So you rub elbows with celebrities and whatever. But you're like, am I really being true to myself?
Yeah.
Right? Is that like kind of the conclusion that you came to? You're like, am I really doing this for me, or am I doing this? Am I living my life for somebody else?
Yep. And that's exactly it. Like you hit the nail on the head, because I was coming to a point where I wasn't learning anything else. Like I was doing really good taking care of all the back end stuff and curating events and doing a lot of fun stuff that I really enjoyed, but I wasn't growing. Like I was just kind of
in what capacity? Like
business and just
developing new skills.
Yes,
or,
new skills, exactly. And so at the time, like business was kind of slow, and we decided to part ways. I was just like, I gotta venture out, because I know one industry. You know, and since college, I've known one industry, and I'm not quite that fond of it. So, to be honest, you know,
like, I'm good at it, but I just don't want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and there's, you know, certain elements to it. It was great to connect people and see the charities really win, and to find those really genuine hearts who wanted to connect with the charities.
Yeah.
Like Jenna Ushkowitz was one of the people that we worked with, and she's just an amazing soul. She was on Glee, and she's who is she? Person. She's Asian. I actually don't know the show Glee that well.
Okay, but she was like a main character.
Oh yeah.
Then I know who she is. Okay.
Yeah. And
she was like, "Don't worry, I know." I know Glee.
I don't know names, but I love that show.
Yeah, and we helped her launch her Kindred Foundation for adoption for pets and people, because she was adopted, and she's just a beautiful human soul. And so when I would meet people like that, I would just want to keep doing that. And so that was the best part about it. But then I wasn't growing as an individual on other skill sets and just knowing anything. So, because I created my own thing out of nothing, and did that for 7 years, and it was great. But then I was like, I need like lessons on things. Like I only know what I know.
Yeah.
How am I going to survive in the world of business and make more money and like sustain myself? And so that's when I decided to leave, and that's when I got a sales job for really low pay, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get commission. I was like, I need to learn how to do sales specifically, and then.
So how did you feed that desire for knowledge outside of just switching industries? Did you read? Did you listen to podcasts? Did you do all of the above?
Honestly, I didn't do so I don't have a lot of patience for reading.
Sure.
And I hated that, but at the time, my boyfriend is like, he's such an avid reader, and so that helped me. Yeah, that helped me start to read more. Sure. But I wasn't quite yet. Like I was more into like listening to podcasts and stuff. Yeah. So that's really all I could do, was just start doing other things and learning by experience. That's how I learn. Like everyone has their own way of learning and absorbing, and I have to learn by doing. Yep. And so I got that job, hated it. And then he was like, let's move to Texas. Like, let's do it. Came out here, and I was like, I've never worked for corporate. So I think that's something I'm missing. No. Went and found a corporate job, outside sales role in Dallas. And having never been to Texas before, well, never living in Texas in that heat and working outside sales. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the worst. However, it was like a great company, but there were so many rules. Like you have to get here before you're actually supposed to start, and leave after you're you're allowed to leave. And I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, I've always made my own schedule and everything.
I used to run on the beach, have coffee with my friends. Like, that was my job.
I was like, I'm from SoCal. Like, this is what we do.
And now it's like, be here at 8, not 8:01.
Right.
Yes.
Be here at 7:30 to get ready because there's a meeting at 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just didn't know. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I was just such a slave. And it was so hot. I didn't even have tint on my windows yet. Like, I had no escape. But the blessing in disguise was my territory was all of DFW.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Coppell, Irving, Fort Worth, a little bit of Arlington, Dallas. I mean, I got to really learn the lay of the land.
Sure.
That's good.
And I went in there and I killed it and I got all these bonuses and I won national contests and I worked there for 8 months and I was like, all right, peace. I'm done. Like, I used all my vacation time. I don't know what else I'm going to do. So
you're like, all right, box check. Did that. What's next?
Yeah. And so I quit and I took like less than half the pay for an e-commerce store, a client of mine actually that I had found.
To try new things and to check boxes of experiences. I was the same way. I've had like a million different careers, and now I've been in staffing for so long, nobody remembers that. Yeah. But back, when I was in my 30s, it was actually kind of a joke in my family. I was, when I first moved here, I was an accountant, and then I wanted to be in real estate. And then everything was just like always trying to do something new. And all of those experiences and all those opportunities actually made me really, really great at what I do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just so funny in the beginning. Everyone's like, oh my God, what is she doing now? And I'm like,
yes.
I just wanted to do new things. And I would get to a point where like, okay, I've learned everything I can learn here. Now what can I learn? What's new? What else is, what else can I do?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I've been doing this for so long now. I think most everybody has forgotten that part of me and that part of my personality, but it was a real thing for a good decade.
Yeah. I still feel like, what am I doing?
Like that was me until I was about 34. And then I kind of finally found my niche and found something that I really, really loved and just poured everything I had. But initially, oh my gosh, especially my grandparents, my parents from the generation of you do the same job forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yes, and then you retire. And
for sure, from that same company and get your pension. And and I was like, I would die
oh
first.
My
like,
gosh.
I would die. Like there's no way I could do the same thing every day for 40 years. No.
I can't. Oh my gosh.
And it's like, that's not even how like the market works now either.
It doesn't. No. It really just isn't that way anymore.
If you stay somewhere longer than like 10 years, they're like, oh my God. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like they want tenure, but not too much.
It's ridiculous.
You can't be a job hopper, but like, oh wow, you were at one place for 15 years.
Well, my husband has been with Bank of America for like 23 years, and I'm telling him, like, I mean, now you're at the point where it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, you're kind of stuck at this point.
And they really incentivize you to stay with them. Because my mom and my best friend both work for BOFA in California.
They really do. Yeah. He every year he gets his little bump, and he just gets a little bit harder to leave.
I get it,
dude. When you do have to leave, like when they tell you to leave because you've been there so long, and it's like, okay, now you're on the layoff list. Oh. Like it's gonna be really hard, and that's actually happened, and then went back, and so he's stuck.
but I envy that. Like, because then it wouldn't be so hard for me to live my life, because now I'm like, I'm responsible now. Yeah. Like, I have to, if I don't work, I don't win at the end of the, like, I don't eat, So if I don't work, I don't eat. Whereas I could just go to a job that, I could brainlessly or, somewhat creatively, depending on your job, do what you have to do, and then you're done, and you let go of all that responsibility. You really don't have that responsibility of the company going under and surviving. You'll get a check.
So but it's also like, that's not how your brain works. You know what I mean? Like,
you have
which is interesting. Like, that's not how an entrepreneur's mind works. Like, you're unable to just go to the same place every day and do the same thing over and over.
Right.
Oh man, I get so bored so fast.
Well, and I think that's why even being in the staffing industry for 13 years now, I've worked for 4 different firms. And I think it's because I get somewhere, I do it really well. I get things to where it's like monotonous.
A well-oiled machine.
And it's monotonous. It becomes a little bit mundane. And then I'm like, okay, what now?
What's next?
I cannot be in the same situation year after year after year if I'm not challenged.
Right.
Like I have to have a challenge.
Yeah. And
for sure.
And for those who do work a 9 to 5, like that's okay.
Yeah.
That's totally okay. It's not wrong, but you still need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you're going to find growth outside of work, like picking up a new book. Like,
Yep.
'cause now I read
Yep.
more now, you know, and like I have to start challenging myself to do those things, sit down, read more, absorb.
Well, I think that's why side hustles are so important for people who are in that daytime 8 to 5. I mean, I'm in that. That is my job.
Yeah.
I'm a Monday through Friday 8 to 5er, but well,
me too.
Sort of.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, all hours to all hours.
Right. Yeah. That's more like that.
Mine's
but,
like 5 to 9.
But I really believe that if you can find something to follow your passion or keep you excited or keep you engaged or keep you learning that's outside the, I don't want to say the mundane, but the day-to-day typical daytime job, the rat race, I think it makes it more tolerable.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and we talked about that on that 2019 recap podcast when it was just me and you. Jordan Peterson said, you know, the people that have goals outside of work that are not work-related goals do better.
Yeah.
At work and in all areas of their life because they're working on personal development, not just like professional development.
Well, and you're finding fulfillment, right, in something outside of just that day job.
Yeah.
Which I think is so important.
Which could be gone tomorrow, you know?
Well, that's the thing.
Exactly.
I think for people who they do pour every single thing they have into work when work is no longer there for whatever reason, company goes under or they just decide they don't want you there anymore or whatever it is, they're lost.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know what to do now. And it's like you can't have one thing completely define you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or one relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
So true. So true.
Been there.
I know, me too.
So we're at an hour.
Oh my God, are you serious?
It went so fast.
But I'm not done yet.
I know. It's so wonderful. We did learn about a year ago that to keep it at an hour, otherwise we can't upload it very easily. So we kind of honor that now and the time of our guests, of course, as
you should come back.
I would love to.
Yeah.
You know what? I love you guys so much.
We love you.
And
oh my God, love you, mean it.
I'm going to just provide you guys coffee if that's okay. Like for this show forever and ever.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're so great.
And I love you. I will buy a French press for the podcast and we will leave it here.
I literally want to get on and like get on a rotation like where it just comes to my house like every month and then I'm going to go buy a real coffee pot, not a Keurig.
Yeah.
There is a subscription service.
Good, right? Yeah.
So tell people how to find you and your coffee.
Yes.
So again, the company is Love You Mean It, and I use the acronym LYMI, LymiCoffee.com.
Love it.
So LymiCoffee.com. You can find me Lymi Coffee on Facebook, Instagram, or in your dreams, just thinking about it.
You're like, I'm planting the seed. They're going to be dreaming about me. Thank you.
And you can go there, go online, sign up for a subscription to save 5% on everything all the time.
Yeah.
Or just try it first, whatever your thing is. But I will tell you, having this coffee, you'll get addicted and you'll never want to drink anything else. And it's so important. It really is. Like the people who have had this, I've had connoisseurs taste it and just rave and they're addicted. And
it's really good. And I love like the low acid level.
So
like,
key.
oh my gosh.
And another key thing, like the biggest thing for me is if I'm going to put something in my body every single day on a consistent basis, it has to be clean.
Yeah.
And so organic is so clean and it doesn't have all the preservatives or whatever waxes that may come with other brands that are cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's important because if you're going to drink it on a daily basis, you want to protect your insides.
Yes.
So that it's doing something naturally and not unnatural.
And something that's like beneficial versus causing harm.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. And I noticed on your Instagram story today, you like posted like or maybe it was yesterday, posted the benefits of like coffee and like how it has like health benefits and stuff like that. So
if done correctly, it can really, really help you in life.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. That's how I began drinking it because I was so opposed to it at first.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like I'm naturally energetic. I don't want to put anything in my body, but if done correctly and with the quality over the quantity or the price of it because it's cheaper for this other coffee, like the quality over quantity means so much, and that goes back to, your health.
Yeah.
So yeah, take that into consideration.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. I can't thank you enough.
I know. Just thanks for sharing your story and your heart and everything about you. It's just been so wonderful. I'm so glad you're here.
This is so much fun. I love you, ladies.
We love you too. So find us, you guys, on all the places. Yeah. What is it? iTunes, Spotify. Is it Spotify? Is that a thing? Google Play.
Yep. Is that a thing?
And then if you just can't find it, biggirlpantspod.com. You can click on the podcast link and it'll take you to all of them. But give us some stars.
Yeah.
Like 5 of them.
A rating.
It'd be
and
great.
A review. Yeah.
Yes.
Let us know what you want to hear about.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.